burpee broad jump station, the one they all love to hate. Okay, in this video, we're going to go through what the workout station rules are for the burpee broad jumps. We're going to have a little look at a couple of techniques that you can use, but more importantly, some things you need to think about when you're doing this exercise, and then a common fault that we see people doing and how to avoid it during the race. Let's have a look at the rules first then. So when you come into the burpee broad jump area, you're going to be presented with a really wide lane. In that lane, you're going to see lots of lines running across. They're about 1 meter apart, and they're really just a reference point for the judge. But the one you need to pay attention to is the very first line in that area. Your first burpee needs to take place behind that line. So when you lay down on the floor, your hands need to be behind that first line. If at your race there is any corners on the burpee broad jump area, you're going to find an area that doesn't have the lines going across it. That area you don't need to do burpees in, but when you turn the corner and start to do your burpees again, you need to abide by that rule. So starting the burpee behind the line, that'll be really obvious when you go into the lane. You can step up and in and out, you can step in and out of your burpee broad jumps, but you must jump. You must jump with your feet next to each other, and they must land next to each other. So you can't do any kind of hopping or skipping when you leave the floor. If you're in a doubles division, you're obviously going to split up the burpee broad jumps however you want to. When you're not doing burpee broad jumps, you need to walk behind your partner. When they land with their feet on the floor together, your hands then need to go where their feet were when you swap over. Last thing to note is, as you're doing your burpee broad jumps, your hands need to go down on the floor where your feet were, and they're quite hot on that. You can't lay forwards by any means. You need to put your hands down where your feet were. Okay, there are, generally speaking, 2 techniques that we can use with the burpees. The first is the step-up method. As the name suggests, we're going to lay ourselves down onto the floor, and then we're going to bring 1 foot up at a time. The second method is going to be the jump-up method. So as you can see, I'm jumping up with both my feet at the same time, and they're landing either side. The difference being, firstly, the step-up method is a little bit slower, and there are pros and cons to that, but it is less expensive to step out of the burpee than it is to jump out of the burpee. So again, there's some pros and cons to both of the methods. When we step out of the burpee, it's going to slow the movement down. So that's going to give you a better chance to keep control of your breathing and lower your heart rate during the exercise. It is going to moderate your pace, which can also be really handy. We don't want to go out too hot on the workout station because it is a long workout station. But it also allows us to really pay attention to where our feet are. So it's quite easy to abide by the feet next to each other rule. As you can see, as I step up, my feet are coming together quite naturally. When we're moving forwards with the movement, we're therefore going to use our second leg as a cue of when to start jumping. So on this workout station, a really big tip, something to think about when you're doing it, is that you always want to be moving forwards. So whenever you're stepping out of your burpee, I'm staying relatively low to the ground. I'm not standing up all the way, as you can see in the video. And as soon as my foot touches the floor, I'm making my jump. When I land, I'm then again thinking, keep low. So you can see that I almost land in my squat, and I'm able to then fall to the floor into my next burpee. We'll come on to a common fault in just a minute, which is about landing really high in like an upright position, and you'll see kind of the difference between the two. So all of those things are kind of replicated in the jump method. So as we come out of the burpee, we're jumping up, landing with the feet next to each other. And you can see as I'm coming out, I don't quite stand all the way up. I jump and stay low. I catch with my knees bent and then fall into my next burpee. This method, albeit quicker, is going to be a little bit more taxing on the hip flexors, because obviously it's a bit more of a dynamic movement. So if you're a super ninja at burpees, you're feeling really good in the race, this is going to be quicker, but just bear in mind that it is a bit more costly in terms of output. The common fault then that we see is people that are landing a bit high. So generally, this is when we're just super tired. We're trying to almost slow ourselves down a bit too much. That jolting feeling, firstly, is not going to feel great on the knees. But as you can see, it's taking me longer then to get down to the floor, instead of almost falling and relaxing through the landing position into my next burpee. So try and avoid this if you can. Land with soft knees, and as you land, try and sit down through your squat, bring that chest to the floor as quick as you can. Just keep moving forwards.